And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us. And one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it, and that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
Welcome back to Tinfoil Tales. I'm your host, Brandon. Tonight we're going to be joined by my guest, Bryce. Bryce has had some Bigfoot activity on the property that him and his father had owned around their farm in southern Illinois. Bryce has been a fan of the show and a good supporter, so I'm definitely honored to have him on here so we can talk about it. But before we dive into that, if you've ever had an experience or something you'd like to talk about, send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com or go to tinfoiltales.com, go to the contact section. But we'll get you scheduled for a future episode of the show. If you want to help the podcast, just keep sharing it around. You can leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to Tinfoil Tales. And if you want to help support the show, you can check out the Patreon. But we are going to dive in with the conversation with Bryce. Definitely a very interesting topic. Love me some Bigfoot activity. Hope you guys enjoy it. I'd like to take this time to welcome my guest tonight, Bryce. Thanks for coming on here and talking with me.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brandon. I really appreciate it.
Would you like to let the audience know a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Bryce. I live in southern Illinois. I got 4 great kids and a wife, and work a factory job. Just been kind of dealing with some high strangeness and seen a Sasquatch twice now.
Before we get into that, you were on one of my live streams almost 2 years ago now. And
yeah, I think it was the second one you did.
Yeah, I think it was like February of 24. But that when you were on here, I remember we talked about like a Hat Man incident, but now you've got all this Bigfoot activity around your property.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. I have got.
Was that something that has just started, or was it something that was going on prior that you weren't aware of?
Well, I think it's been going on for a while because the only reason I say this is because my grandma told the story of seeing a honey bear whenever I was like, I don't know, 10 years old or something like that. And the story she told was my dad was 4 years old and my Uncle Danny was basically a newborn. And they were sitting in the front yard, and the house was still like being built at the time. And most of it was done, but I think like the garage was left to go, and it was an attached garage. And anyways, Grandpa was at work. He was a coal miner. And so Grandma said, this is like her story was what she told me. She said that she saw something on 4 legs walking up in the field from the woods, and then suddenly it stood up. And when it stood up, it scared the hell out of her, because when it stood up, it just started walking towards her. So she grabbed my dad and my uncle and ran in the house, locked the door, and hid in the closet and waited there until Grandpa showed up from work that night. Now, at the time, whenever she said honey bear, I'm thinking, well, this would have been like very early 60s. Maybe there was some brown bear or something like that. But when I was listening to another Bigfoot podcast, one of the guys that was talking on it was talking about Sasquatch and his experiences and whatnot. And he said the term honey bear. And when he said that, like it just like the light bulb went off from remembering Grandma's story from all those years ago. So I believe that's what she saw. So this has been going on for decades, at least. And my dad, probably 10 years ago, he was over at my cousin's house out on our farm. We've got a 642 acre farm, and we're like, the way it is, like there's people in the families, used to be anyways, some have died, but spread out amongst it. And dad was probably about, I don't know, 3/8 of a mile from my cousin Jerry's. And he was over there talking to him, and my grandpa was there too. And it was getting to be about dusk, and the coyotes were just raising hell up in the field across the road. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just this roar came, like this big, deep guttural, just roar, and everything went dead silent. My dad, my cousin, grandpa didn't hear anything because grandpa was hard of hearing. But my cousin and my dad, they were both like, "What was that?" And I mean, he told me that story back then, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But at the same time, it's like I'm thinking, because back then I was thinking to myself, "Man, there's no way Bigfoot's down here." And I was like, "But you never know." And then more and more, I've been looking into it and thing over the years. Started kind of thinking back to what Dad said. I was like, "Okay, well, maybe there's something to it." Because there's some local researchers, in the Shawnee National Forest, which my farm is fairly close to that. And, they've got all kinds of footage and things like that. So I'm sitting here thinking about it. And I'm like, all right, well, fast forward to, what year was it? 2023 on Mother's Day. So in the month of May. And May is a big month for all this activity. My wife and my kids and I were over at the farm, and she wanted to go hunting for morels. So we went over to where Dad said they were at. And whenever we were going to go and cut through the field to get over to that section of woods, my son was like, "Hey, Dad, look at those footprints over there." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I got to where he was, and I looked over, and there was huge footprints, like cutting the corner of a field going into the woods. And I wear a size 13, and I've got a pretty wide foot. Whenever I put my foot next to these prints, like my foot was dwarfed.
Mm.
These prints were 18 inches, very big. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay. I mean, the prints looked like they were a couple days old because the field, it had been disked. So, I mean, wasn't like freshly disked, it'd been disked that week. And I was thinking to myself, okay, this is weird. First thing I thought was maybe it's just somebody was out here in rubber boots and the ground spread whenever they were walking. Because
Right.
that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But not to that extreme. And we saw toe prints in it too. So I mean, it was pretty wild. So that was, we found a deer carcass that the only thing, it was ripped in half, like something just grabbed its neck and grabbed like maybe like its rear end or whatever and just pulled it right apart at the spine. And at first I was thinking when I first saw it, okay, well, this could just be a coyote kill. We got a ton of coyotes out there. Could just be that. But whenever I've ever found, skeletons of a deer out in the woods and whatnot, the bones have always been scattered. And this was literally just like, here's one half over here, and about 20 feet up, there's the other half. And the only thing that had fur on it still was the front legs from like the joint down to the hooves. So it was just, you know, just something to kind of like take note of whenever we were there. So we look for the morels. We didn't find any. Um, Noticed what I think could have been a small stick structure, and it could have just been, random sticks that blew up onto the side of a tree. I mean, it wasn't nothing big. It was just something about maybe a little past knee high.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, well that's cool, like, okay, like we took pictures, and I got a picture of the print and my foot right next to it. And that was it for then. And then the next year, so the week before Mother's Day, but like I said, still May 2024, taking my grandpa and my youngest son, he was 3 at the time, and we were going out to the farm to take grandpa over to my dad's house. And as we're coming in to where it's our property at, I crossed the bridge of the creek and just kind of caught movement to my right. And I looked over, and when I looked over, about, say, 70, 80 yards back into the field, it's a 40-acre field where I saw it. I just see this big black thing, like, kind of, it has like its back to me, but it's like bent over, just digging into the side of the hillside of the field. And I saw the arm moving. That's what caught my attention, was the arm, like, digging into the dirt and just thrashing it back. And I mean, the arm on this thing, keep in mind at the distance too. Like, you take my arm, add another half an arm, and that's probably how long the arm was, if not longer. And then this sighting only took like 4 seconds, because like I said, I was driving. I was going about, I don't know, 25, 30 miles an hour. And it was the let's see, what time of day was it? It was right after 3 o'clock, and it was like, broad daylight, wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was warm. I mean, it was probably around 70, I'd say. And there's this thing right there in the field. And at first, I wasn't sure what I was looking at, but I knew that how big it looked and how far away it was. It wasn't a person. I knew that much. So I hurry up and get grandpa to dad's house, because where that field is, where I had the sighting, in my dad's house, it's only like a half a mile up the road going up a hill. So dropped off grandpa and told dad, like, hey, I think I see something big. Or like I said, I think I see something pretty big out in the field, if you catch my drift. And he was just like, what? Like, looking at me like, it was like he didn't want to believe me, but he believed me whenever he was, looking at me. And I was like, yeah, so I'm going to go back. So me and my youngest, we go back. By then it's gone. I did see it stand up before we walked away. And the way this thing looked, again, I never saw the face. Its back was to me the whole time. When this thing stood up, the size of it, it wasn't like a big, hulking, bulky creature like Patty from the Patterson-Gimlin film. This one, the best way I know how to describe it is, it reminded me of the body build style of the Bigfoot from the Sam Elliott movie, The Man Who Killed Hitler, and then the Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you've seen that movie, like the body size of that Bigfoot in there, think that size, like that slender but still muscular. But it wasn't red like in the movie. This was black, and it had a little bit of like a shine to it. So I'm thinking that it came from the creek, because the creek is literally right there next to the field. And it had been raining a lot in that month, and the creek was high, so it very well could have been in there, swimming, whatever, and came up. And it's like, it's weird, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, all right, I've got to talk to somebody. So I called Joe Doyle from Hellbent Holler. I called him, talked to him. I was like, look, man, I know you and Jesse look for these things all the time. I'm like, I don't know if it's what I saw, but I laid it all out for him. And I did that with a few other people too. And I mean, it just everybody was just like, yeah, dude, it sounds like you saw a Bigfoot. And I was like, holy crap. I just wish I could have seen the face though, just because, to me, that would have been awesome. But who knows? It may have been terrifying. I'm not really sure. And then, so, that was then. And then I told, like I said, I told my dad about it. I told a couple close friends about it. And, everybody was just kind of like, believed me, but was, everybody's a skeptic basically that I'm friends with. Like they want to believe, but they've got to see it to believe it,
Uh-huh.
And I mean, that's just how it is. And with me, I'm a believer because I believed before, then I seen it, now I know. And it's pretty wild because me and my dad, whenever I've talked to him about it more, like after that happened, he started telling me a little bit more about things that he's been hearing and seeing and whatnot out on the farm. And now he hasn't seen a Bigfoot or anything like that, but he has heard whoops. And one time it was this year, back in, I want to say July, maybe early August. Me and him were putting away a lawnmower, and it was like probably 9:30 at night. And he went to go get my son's soccer ball that they left at his house. And just as he started walking away, coming from behind his house where one of the ponds on the farm is, just heard this subtle, but you could hear it. It was just a whoop. And like I was sitting there, I almost like ignored it. And I'm like, wait a second. I was like, hey, Dad, did you hear that? And he was just like, yep, I was waiting on you to say something. And it was just wild because, here we are, like out there, it's pitch black night, and I hear a whoop, and it's coming from over there where the pond is. So I tell my friend Joe Turry about it, and he's a filmmaker. He's made some different cryptid and UFO, other high strangeness stuff, documentaries, and just videos on his YouTube channel. And I asked him, I was like, hey, man, because I know he has the equipment and everything. I was like, you want to come out here and us do an investigation? I was like, because I'd really like to know what's going on out here. And so would my dad. And he was like, yeah, sure. So we got it to where we could get together. And him and one of his cameramen came out, and we did the investigation and shot the initial documentary. And I came up with the name for it because we were trying to figure out something. And I mean, whenever you got something like you've got like down here, it's the Murfreesboro, the big muddy monster of Murfreesboro, Illinois. Well, I was trying to come up with something that it's kind of like that. Like you hear that and okay, yeah, that's there. That's, I'm not trying to give away the location of the farm or anything because I don't want a ton of people out there. But I came up with the Pond Creek Monster because it just sounded good. And I mean, it's kind of honoring the creek and everything that has been going through where the farm is. So
You just got the episode name too. that's
oh,
what
sweet.
that's what I'll title this episode.
Nice. Yeah, it's pretty wild, man, because like I always felt like, being a kid growing up out there, mom and dad got divorced whenever I was like 5, but whenever I'd be out at my dad's house out on the farm, I'd be outside playing, or like if I was going to go to my grandparents' house, I'd just cut through the field because it was quicker and there's woods right there and everything. Um, be walking, and to me, I would think I was hearing somebody like building a barn or something because it sounded like somebody taking a hammer and just driving nails in a bunch of 2x4s. Being a kid, and it was, the 90s, I didn't know about Bigfoot then. Probably wasn't until the X-Files or something before I really became aware of that.
I don't even think
But
people, for the most part, knew about knocking noises like tree knocks or anything till Finding Bigfoot came around, and that kind of popularized all of the stuff that these modern day Bigfoot researchers are out doing, like banging on trees and the whoops and everything else. Like I didn't know any of that stuff until that show came out.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I didn't either.
I think
But
it may have been like the small knit groups of the actual researchers that was doing it before it became popular. I use the term loosely of popular, but
right.
I think it was more or less just contained to the actual Bigfoot inner circles of stuff like that. Like people like you and I who weren't involved in any of that at the time is unaware of what goes on.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird because you would hear it often out there. And like especially in the summertime. And like there'd be times where like, going fishing or something like that, all of a sudden you get this really like creeped out feeling and you don't know why and all that. Like whenever I was a kid, I didn't really chalk it up to much other than just, oh, toughen up or something like that, and just more and more you read things, and hear people's experiences, things like that. And then like you think back to your childhood out there, it's like, oh hell. So yeah, it's pretty wild. The This year has been super active out there. And I don't know if it's just because now me and my dad are aware of what's going on and actively, listening, actively searching, things like that. But this year's been pretty wild because whenever we filmed the documentary and everything, found a bunch of prints and they were different sizes. Like I haven't seen the 18-inch prints again, but I did find some that measured 16 and I found some that measured 14. And I mean, there was toes. It wasn't just like somebody wearing rubber boots or combat boots walking around. Um, and it wasn't like tractor tire tracks either, because I've heard people, comment like, hey, are you sure that's what it was? It's like, no, I've got pictures of it. um, and it's pretty wild. Like, my guess is there must be a family out there. And the second time that I saw it, it was, it was at a greater distance, but I had a witness with me. It was whenever we were filming the next documentary on it, going a little further in and tying in the other high strangeness that's going on out there, because it's not just Bigfoot that's going on out there. There's other shit too, but not like skinwalkers or things like that. It's more along the lines of like orbs in the sky and things like that. And I'll go into that a little more detail here in a little while. But yeah, so we were sitting there, we were getting ready to film my wife's interview because my grandparents have passed away since these sightings and stuff first started. But my grandma had told my wife Amber about the honey bear and some other stories too. Like, seeing spirits, seeing lights in the woods, UFOs, things of that nature. So we had everything set up. We're going to do a fireside interview chat for Amber on the thing, on the documentary. And as we're pulling out to go over to it, I'm sitting on the tailgate of the truck, and this guy sitting next to me. I don't know if I should say his name or not, so I'm just going to call him Rob. And we're sitting there, and as we pull out, I see what looks like a really tall guy standing in the middle of the road looking at us, but down like just in front of the bridge, right next to where the field is where I had my initial sighting back in 23 or 22, 24. I mean, um, and I'm asking him, I go, is somebody down there? And he's looking, he goes, well, He's like, if it is, they're really tall. And I said, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And it was like, you would think to yourself, like hit the side of the truck, get the guy's attention, get the cameras out, all that kind of stuff. No, not me. I'm sitting there talking with him. We're just kind of like trying to figure out, like, okay. And I mean, at this distance, we're pulling out of Dad's uh, driveway. That's a half a mile up a hill. But we can see this thing standing down there in the middle of the road, staring right at us. Now, I know a lot of people hearing this are probably going to say it was probably just somebody in the road. From that distance, you could tell this was a very, very large person, if it was a person. And I don't believe it was, just because of how big it looked from that distance, if that makes sense. And then Rob was saying the same thing. And it was just, it was strange because, like, whenever it was looking at us and standing in the road, it didn't have like an aggressive posture, more of like a curious, like, okay, which way are they going, because it was kind of like, it was almost like leaning a little bit whenever it was staring straight at us. And that was just, I just found that strange. So we go off and we do Amber's interview, and it goes off good, but something weird happened during her interview. Um, we were back, let's see, where my field is that I own. There's a little man-made road that the coal mine had put in because they were trying to dig a well at one time, and they ended up not hitting water, but they still left the little like driveway road. It's, I don't know, it's not very long, maybe like 100 yards at the most, and it's just like big pieces of gravel. But we were back there and had it going. Well, behind us, because we had that ice storm back, this past winter, so there was a lot of down trees and everything over there. So that's where we had everything set up at, because it was just kind of spooky looking, good for the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's talking, and all of a sudden she says, like, just like a small stick hits her in the shin. And it was weird because she was just like, okay, who threw a stick at me? And we're like, huh? Like, I was watching her the whole time, and, because I was just watching her do her interview, and Joe was the one who was on the camera. And then Jason, he was there, and he was behind her, just holding the light and everything, making sure everything was good there. No one threw a stick at her. But what I thought was strange, I was working a parabolic dish, and I was kind of scanning around. And right after she said that, like she pointed, it came behind me and Joe. So it would have came in like all that brush from all the where the trees had fell, like the tops of the trees and whatnot from the ice storm. And it was pretty wild because, like, she was like genuinely freaked out by it. And it was just wild to see. So I used the parabolic dish, and I'm scanning back there trying to listen for anything, and you could hear something moving back there, and it sounded like it was bipedal. It didn't sound like a deer or bobcat or anything like that going through. um so that was just something to take note of. And then we got done with that, got back over to our base of operations, I guess you'd call it. And we're sitting there, and we decide to use this. I think it's called an Aztec death whistle or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
That wooden long tube looking thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen them on there. I don't know exactly what they're supposed to do or anything, but I've seen people on Facebook posting about them.
yeah. Well, Jason had one, and he used it, And I'm sitting there like he did it going, towards the creek and everything. And he did it once, kind of listened, didn't hear anything. So he did it again. And as soon as he did it that second time, I immediately heard what was either a tree break or something that smacked a tree with like a big log or something. It was very sharp, very loud. And so we got that recorded. Um and then let's see. Trying to think if I forgot anything before this year. Um Not that I can think of at the moment. If anything comes to me though, I'll just jump back.
No, it's fine.
But you got any questions or anything?
The thing that I was thinking about is when all of this started, and it seems to be getting more. I wonder if it's because you kind of said you and your dad were out more looking into it or everything, but I wonder if it knows now that you know. Maybe it wants you to know. Do you ever think about that?
It's possible. I did whenever I went out there after I'd seen it. Oh God, that's right. I forgot to tell you about that. Okay. So after I went out there or whenever saw it, in the field, the next day, my wife and I went back and we had the kids with us, and she stayed in the car with the kids because I wanted to go out in the field and try and see if I could find where it was. And I did. It had rained the night before, so it was kind of sloppy out there, but I found where it was digging and I found the footprints. So I got pictures of that. But whenever I got out in the field, I kind of remembered what I've heard on other podcasts and stuff. Like you'll hear like Native Americans talking about, like calling them the Forest Brothers. And, like if you go out there, just state your intention, let them know, hey man, I'm not out here trying to cause any problems for you. I come in peace. You're welcome here as long as you respect the land and respect my family's things and properties and whatnot. And so I did all that. And then I found that print, the prints and then the dig site. And that was pretty wild too, because like I'm not sure what it was after, but whatever it was after, it dug a good ways into that hillside at like going after it. So like I'm thinking maybe like maybe it saw like a groundhog or something and was going after that. Um but whenever I got back there, I was standing up and Amber said she could barely see me from the car, and the car was just parked on the side of the road. And then whenever I bent down to take the pictures and everything, she said she lost sight of me completely. So that also tells you, just to like from that distance, me being 5'10", that thing had to have been 7+, because like what I saw was probably whenever it was bent over digging, I would say it was upper body, definitely upper body. Maybe just below the waistline.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever it stood up, of course, but it had its back to me. But whenever it stood up, it was just like, oh, that's really tall. Um, but yeah. And then I mean, it's very possible because like I used that Native American technique whenever we filmed and we did the YouTube documentary. I went out there and like I now it's just gotten to where it's habit. I'll go out there, I'll announce myself and say, hey, I'm just out here, this is what I'm doing. I ain't gonna bother you. If you could give me a sign of your presence, that'd be wonderful. If not, no problem. And more times than not, something happens. Either I'll find prints or I'll hear like a knock. One time I was out there, I was taking pictures to give to Joe for the documentary, and coming from the creek, it it was so weird sounding. Like the only way I know how to describe it was like, and this is gonna sound kind of funny, but like, whenever you have like a really loud belly growl,
Mm-hmm.
think that, but like if something was mumbling to itself, but the mumble sounded like a belly growl, like if you were hungry.
Almost like that rumbliness to it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sitting there hearing it, I'm taking pictures, and I'm not looking over at the creek where it's coming from, because I'm thinking, okay, all right, one of them's right over there. Okay, this is happening. And it was just the weirdest thing, but I never felt threatened. I never got scared or anything. Which was also kind of shocking to me, because so many people talk about just being terrified, and I don't know if it's just because doing that thing I do that I learned, by the Native Americans. I don't know if that just kind of smooths things over right from the get-go or what, like, but every time I've been out there and had any kind of an encounter, I've never felt fear. I've never felt like I was in danger. It's been pretty wild. Back on October 17th, we were out there and doing a live stream nighttime investigation thing. And before they got there about, I want to say 8:30, and I was sitting there for probably an hour before they got there. And I just had my windows down on my car, lights off, car off, all that stuff, no music going or anything, just listening. And it was it was kind of creepy. I ain't gonna lie, because it was one of two things: either the top of a tree fell out, and on a not windy day, fell out and just hit every single branch on the way down, or something was running through the woods and knocking branches like they were nothing. And it happened twice within like a 15-minute span.
Hmm.
And that was pretty wild. And then once they got there, I told them about it, because I mean, like, how like you've heard people say, and I'm sure you've heard it with just all your guests and everything, people say it sounds like a rhinoceros running through the woods or something like that, just bulldozing
Yep.
everything.
Running through all the snapping and the brain, like it's almost making enough noise just to let you know that it's leaving the area.
Yeah. That's what happened. And like I said, it happened twice, and it came from the same spot in the woods. So I don't know if there was two of them or if it was just the same one or what, but it was weird. And when they got there, we got all geared up and everything, and I was running the parabolic dish again. And we went out in the field over there, right next to the woods and everything. We were, shining flashlights in. We did get some eye shine. Not sure what it was. Because it wasn't a deer. We did get deer also, but whatever that eye shine was that was in the woods, I'm not sure, because it was just so far back in there. Like, you saw the eye shine, but you couldn't make out anything else. But right past where that was, because the way it sounded on the parabolic dish, it sounded like it was further back from where this eye shine was as far as like distance. I got a very loud and distinct knock. I mean, it sounded like Babe Ruth took a baseball bat and just smacked an oak tree with it. And it was pretty wild. I was like, "Oh, that's a knock." And yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy. We also that night, now this is not Bigfoot related, or maybe, I don't know, because you know how there are a group, or a select group of people who think that Bigfoot is an alien.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is going to sound crazy, but we got video evidence of it. we started. Jason had one of those green lasers you can like shoot up into the sky, kind of like the ones you see on that show Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, the ones that they kind of shoot up
Um,
towards the orbs.
yeah. Well, it brought. We started. He shined it, and it wasn't 3 minutes at the most, and all of a sudden, all these red orbs started showing up in the sky. And the sky that night was cloudy for most of the night, and then oddly enough cleared up right after these red orbs started showing up. um the strangest thing though was like they were moving, and it was kind of like at first we just kind of thought they were phasing in and out. And I mean, I'm running through my head like, okay, is this Starlink, like is this drones, like like what's going on, like this, there's obviously an explanation for this. And once I ran out of ideas on what it could be that would debunk it, I was just like, okay, something's going on. And Jason was using, if I remember correctly, he had a night vision camera, and he was recording it and everything and just watching them. Well, it was weird. Like my dad was out there, he saw him. I mean, there was probably, I want to say, as many as 9 orbs. And whenever I talked to Joe a few days after that, he told me that, I don't know, he ran like some kind of a filter or something like that to kind of sharpen up the images and whatnot. And to him, it looked like whenever those red orbs would be phasing in and out, he said that it looked like a pyramid shaped UFO.
Hmm.
And yeah, because like there was a pyramid shaped UFO I remember seeing, on a Facebook or TikTok like a few months back, but I don't remember where it was. I don't even remember if it was here in the United States. But it seems really strange to me that no sooner than that green laser thing pointed up into the sky, those things showing up, and then he ran a filter over it, because like to the naked eye, I just saw red orbs. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Um, and dad was even like, he's like, oh, I see stuff like that out here all the time. I'm like, oh, okay. Cause I mean, I used to live out there on the farm for years, and then now I live in town. But out there, I mean, it's like the night sky out there versus like the night sky that I'm looking at right now, totally different. I can't see any stars here right now very much because of the light pollution. Out there, you can see everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was pretty wild. Like it kind of freaks me out actually, because like seeing a Bigfoot didn't freak me out as much as hearing that there was a pyramid UFO hovering, above us basically. It was just very, very like an intense and uneasy feeling. After he told me that, I was like, oh shit, okay. I told dad, I was like, don't be flashing any lights up at the sky or anything anymore. And I mean, he's got he's been whistled at out there earlier this summer actually. um he was out there building bonfires and stuff like that. And it was probably, I'm going to guess, around midnight. He was sitting there at one of his fires, and he said that all of a sudden just heard like a very loud, shrill whistle come from behind him. Back like whenever me and him heard that whoop from that same direction towards the pond and everything. And he said it was like about a 4 or 5 second whistle, and he said it did it like 3 times. And dad's heard um what sounded like something trying to mimic a owl, and also try to mimic a train whistle, because there's a train track that runs to the coal mine. And occasionally trains will come through and all that. And he said one train had gone through, And then he said after it had already gone through and everything, a few minutes later, you started hearing something trying to mimic the whistle of the train. So, I mean, whenever you think back to the what was it, the Sierra Sounds, I think, the one that Matt Moneymaker recorded,
Oh, that was the
or the
Ohio
yeah,
Howl. Yeah, the
yeah, Ohio
Sierra
House.
Sounds was Ron Moorhead.
Yeah, I always get those two mixed up. Um, like how that sounded like a whistle or a siren, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I played that for him, and he said that sounded a lot like what he heard. So I don't know, man. It's there's stuff out there. There is stuff out there. There's ghosts. I mean, the house that my dad lives in, I lived there after my great grandma and my great uncle had passed away, and I was basically living there to keep an eye on that side of the farm. And yeah, their spirits were still there, and I know it was them because you would hear footsteps going from the bedroom to the kitchen and back about 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, I was dealing with a little bit of insomnia one week because my work schedule was so crazy. And I told dad, I was like, man, I think I'm going nuts. I'm hearing footsteps in the middle of the night going to the kitchen and back. And he was just like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And he told me, he was like, well, your Uncle Larry, back whenever, because my dad was their caretaker. And whenever Uncle Larry, he was dying of brain cancer, he would get up in the middle of the night, go to the kitchen, fix himself a glass of milk, and then go back to bed. Dad said that after Larry died, and he would be sitting there with my great grandma, um, while she was sleeping and stuff, he would hear footsteps go to the kitchen and back, and he was like, "That's Larry." And then my great grandma, how I know that she is there, her spirit's there still. Whenever I lived there, I got there, I'm like, okay, I got my own house, king of my own castle. I'm gonna have a beer. I opened up a beer, a picture that had been on the wall and never fell off the wall or anything. Didn't just like fall off the wall, hit the couch, and go in the middle of the floor. It went from the wall to the middle of the floor in the living room. And I'd like right after I cracked open the beer, and I was just like, I'll take it outside. And I went outside. I was like, oh God. And I mean, Granny never allowed drinking in her house. And yeah, so that was pretty wild. And that was just like the first thing I noticed there, was that. And then the stuff with the footsteps, it was just wild, like there's just different things. Cause I mean, I've experienced all kinds of stuff in my life. Like you said, like, the first time I was on your live stream, the Hat Man thing, whenever I was like 9 years old, that was wild. Seeing the full body apparition ghost in a bar right before I'd been drinking. I hadn't been drinking at that point. I just got off work, just for the record. And it just disappearing and everything. I mean, like seeing Bigfoot is the new thing for me. And because I've been used to more of like the ghosts and things like that, not so much physical creatures. Um, I plan on going back out there and taking my dad this time, and me and him going out there because there's a section out on the farm where dad was bush hogging, and my stepmom, um, she doesn't believe in any of this stuff. She's just like, have a good time, whenever I say I'm going out or something like that. Um, but she went outside and she thought she heard my dad like yelling, like help, things like that. And dad was fishing. He got done bush hogging and he was just fishing over like on the other end of the farm. And my brother went out there and was trying to find dad and grabbed one of my dad's buddies who's a neighbor. And whenever they got to the north end of the farm where the woods are, they said that there was something. They didn't see what it was, but there was something big in the woods, and it was growling, and like the growling just scared the hell out of them. he was like, dude, he's like, I'm not scared of much. He was like, whatever that was, I didn't want any freaking part of. He was like, it sounded big and it sounded mad. I don't know what it was, but like the whole thing too is like whenever we were doing our investigation on that night investigation back on the 17th, I thought I heard something that sounded like not so much the word help, but like if you were yelling like how that would sound, without actually saying the word help, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, but I mean that could have been like a screech owl or something too. I mean, I don't know. I didn't see anything. I just thought I heard something. And, my stepmom, she definitely heard something because she acted on it. And I mean, it was enough to scare her into thinking that something happened to dad. So I don't know, man. My wife seems to think it's kind of like its own little skinwalker ranch out there just because of all the different things going on. And I mean, who knows? There was a Native American settlement out there. And also, there used to be a fort out there on one of the fields that's close to my dad's house, and it's the field across from where I saw the Bigfoot at. Um, the matter of fact, remnants of the fort was still there up until about I want to say the 60s or 70s. Um, SIU, Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. uh, they came out and did some excavations and stuff and found artifacts and like buttons, remnants of a sword, like musket balls, things like that. And I did a little bit of research on it, and that particular fort was called Fort Jordan. And whenever I looked into it, apparently, and I don't know, this is just what I saw whenever I was Googling it, but apparently that fort was the first fort built in America's expansion across from the Ohio River. So, I mean, here we are going west. That fort's built. There was an Indian settlement. I know for a fact that there was clashes between, the Native Americans and the people at the fort. Just because that's just stories and stuff that was passed down, told. There's been some books and stuff written about it, but it's just I don't know. There's just a very deep history out there, kind of going in all different directions. You know what I mean?
I think when it comes to like some of the Native American stuff, that's what I've been turning up around here too, is for some reason it seems to all be tied back to a lot of the land that the Native Americans used to be on. And I don't know if it's something that this is me being my own ideas here, but and I actually said this on the interview I did last night too. The guy that I talked to, he was from one of the tribes here. This, now obviously the tribes aren't really the same here as they used to be, but he made a
Right.
comment that what if some of these things are actually like something that was summoned by their ancestors, like a protective spirit type of a thing that takes the form of these creatures? And since they're no longer here anymore, the people that summoned them can't send them back. So now they're just walking around, not so much like haunting in that type of sense, but they're still protecting the lands that they were summoned here to protect. I was like, I mean, I never thought of that, but
I
maybe.
mean, that makes a lot of sense.
So I don't know. Like that was just something that he randomly had said, and it's kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And two, I don't know the company that did it, but there's a pipeline that was just put in out there, and they dug up a bunch of the ground and everything to be able to lay the pipeline. And so I mean, maybe disturbing that, maybe, who knows, maybe they went through something that was sacred. I
Right.
mean, there's no telling.
I know a lot of
So,
areas the original peoples that used to live around here, they had sacred areas, and a lot of it seemed to be around the waterways. And
Yeah.
from what you've described, it's not too far from a waterway, which
Right.
that was their main way of travel back in those days too. They used to have, like, with trading with other villages and everything else, they used to use these creeks and streams and rivers, and that was their whole world. Like, that was their highways, was just using the waterways. So if you
Yeah.
think about it, a lot of the sightings that people have reported are around water. Well, most animals, if they are an animal, they're going to need a water source anyway. So it makes sense they'd be around a natural spring or something for water. But if they feed on things, you're going to have prey around there too. And even if you look at us, like civilizations, most of the big cities in our country alone, they're around the coastal areas. So
Yeah.
we as people are around water. So it just makes sense that maybe these things are, if they are a flesh and blood type of a creature, it would make sense to be around water. But if they're a spiritual thing, well, obviously they're around the lands that the people used to live in before we were ever here.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
I said there's a lot more to it than anything that I can wrap my brain around. It's just, that's the one thing that he had spoken about, and it's just kind of stuck with me that, you know what, maybe there is something to this, because even like if you bring up not just like Sasquatch stuff, but like people report seeing Dogman, and it's usually around burial grounds, they say, or something like that. Well, why would they be there unless they were there for a reason? You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like they're
Yeah.
like a protective thing for that. And I've heard that before by people
Mhm.
saying that they were summoned to protect the, like, oversee the dead or something like that. Like, kind of like the
Yeah.
guardians of the afterlife. I was like, oh, I don't know,
Hmm.
maybe.
And I mean, hey, if you think about Anubis, that's a dog-headed person, so a dog man, so to say, from Egyptian.
I don't want to say I know exactly what Anubis was considered, but wasn't he the guardian of the undead?
I'm pretty sure guardian of the underworld, something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe there is something to it. I don't know.
Yeah, there could be. I have no idea. I just know that it's pretty wild, and out there, it's. I mean, you go out there, like normal person goes out there, it's just another farm. You know what I mean? But give it a little bit of time, and then you're gonna start hearing shit, and then you're gonna start seeing shit, and like I said, just like knowing the history of the land itself, like it's been in our family since the, like, I think 1850s, 1860s, something like that. So we've had it for a long time. And my wife made the comment, it's about a month or so ago. She goes, it's almost like your family are the stewards of the land in a way, like the land chose your family. And I'm like, I never thought of it like that, but it kind of makes sense, I guess. And because you'd figured by now somebody would have lost it, but nope. And it's pretty wild because, like, just, I don't know, man. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, you got to be there. You just got to be there, and just there's a feeling in the air to it. Like when you're on that property, it just feels different. Like there's like a charge in the air almost, and it's just, I don't know. It's just difference. This is the only way I really know how to explain it. Like, look wise, looks like any other farm you ever see, but it's not. Like there's something going on out there. I don't know what it is, but with the whole Native American thing, and I'm sure. I mean, have I found any? No, but I know there's a lot of small hills out there. Those could be burial mounds. No idea. Could be. Um, I know that my dad's friend has, well, he's passed away since, but he used to have one of the biggest arrowhead collections I have ever seen in my life, and they all came from right there. like right there on the farm and on his property and everything like that, because he just lived on the other side of the creek from us. And I mean, like it was weird. Like, and another thing too, it was like, I want to say, I could be wrong on this. My dad will let me know whenever he listens if I get this wrong. But before his friend passed away, he returned all of those arrowheads back to where he had found most of them at, like, in the creek, dug a hole on his property and buried the rest of them to like give them back.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't too long after that was when he passed away. So I wonder if, like, in a weird way, like maybe he knew or something. I don't know. But it's just there's a lot going on out there that we didn't really realize until very recently in the last couple years. And more so this year than anything, was just because like now we're looking for it.
What
And like you said, maybe it does want us to know it's there. And I'm okay with it because like I want to know it. I want to see it again. I want to go for the trifecta. I want to get a lot closer to it this time. I don't want to get killed doing it, but if I could get like, you know, maybe 20 yards away from it this time and actually see the face, that would be great. But I don't know, man. It's pretty wild.
what are your plans for this? Obviously, over the winter and into next year, do you have any plans for doing more like in documentary or investigations out there? Or are you just going to try and do your own little stuff here
Um,
and there?
we're gonna get some equipment and get it all set up out there, cameras, like the good ones and everything, audio recorders. I'm gonna be going out there, and probably dad too, if I can talk him into it, and do some night investigating and just seeing what we can come across. I'm going to do a little more research on the land itself and learn more about, like, before our family ever owned it, like what all was actually going on, because I only know just a small bit about that Fort Jordan and the Native American settlement that they battled with and everything. Um, but I do plan on going out there and researching more. It's possible that we'll be doing more of live streams, or not live streams, but documentaries. It's possible, or videos, whatever you want to call them, for YouTube. There's no telling. Because like as far as that stuff goes, that's more my friend Joe that has all the equipment for that. And he's the way, it's his channel, all that kind of stuff. Me, if somebody wants to go with me and let's go look, hey, let's go look. Like if you want to come down and go check it out, we'll go check it out, man. I ain't got no problem taking you out there.
I might take
Um,
you up on that when it's a little bit warmer.
Heck yeah, dude. Welcome anytime.
I think we can probably wrap this one up for now, but I definitely want to have you back on when you're back out there. And if you come across anything else, I'm sure the audience would love to hear what you've uncovered out there.
Oh yeah, sure thing, man. Sure thing.
But I was going to say, it's interesting when someone has the experiences around their own area, because this gives you the opportunity, like what a lot of people don't have, to just be able to go out there and do a continued investigation. Like when you see the people on the shows and everything that they're out doing, they may go set up to this, like the TV shows, they might go out to one specific area, two areas, and they're there for like an overnight investigation and then they're gone. You have the
Yeah.
ability to do a long term research on something. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, people are gonna probably be like, "Oh yeah, coincidentally on his farm," because there's people at work that said that whenever I tried talking about it with people at work. I mean, I don't know what to say in response to that. It's just kind of like, I mean, that's where the activity is. I Be it my farm, be it somebody else's farm, that's where the activity is. um, it is nice because it's literally anytime I want to go out there and look, I can.
Yeah, so no matter what you say or do, most people are so narrow-minded that they're just going to write everything off anyways, just because that's just how they're
Yep.
programmed to be.
Absolutely.
Well, Bryce, it has been a pleasure talking with you again. And for all the listeners out there, I will have Bryce back on as soon as he gets some more investigating. Once he gets his equipment, if anything shows up, we'll make sure to let you guys know.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, not a problem. Thanks for being on here. Have a good night.
You too.
If you would like to be a guest on Tinfoil Tales, remember to send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com, or you can also go to tinfoiltales.com and go to the contact section. Just make sure to reach out and get a hold of me, and we will get something scheduled for a future episode. You can also find Tinfoil Tales on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for Tinfoil Tales Podcast. You can reach out to me that way too. Remember to share the show around. Word of mouth is the best way to help the show grow. And just remember, truth comes at cost. Are you willing to pay the price?